This is Mr. Burn. It's a Telecaster that I built a couple of years ago, 5-6 years ago. I don't really know when, it was a while back. And it has a couple of interesting things about it, so I was thinking I'd go through it a little bit. If you think that this idea of me telling you a little bit of a story behind one of the guitars I've made is fun and interesting, let me know, because I have a couple of other guitars that have fun things that I could share with you. So talk to me in the comments below. So first off, what is this guitar made out of? The body is made out of a pallet wood. My father has a company that deals with plants, and so he has a lot of pallet laying around. And I saw a video online about what pallet woods you could keep and what you couldn't keep and what was actually hardwood, because some of them come with hardwood and you can actually get nice pieces of maple if you're lucky. So I checked to see if we have any maple stamped pieces, and so I made a body out of that. And first it was going to be just super rustic, that's why you can see all the little marks, and it actually has the stamp still on it right here, but it's been worn off by years of playing and stuff like that. The guitar looked a lot cleaner in the beginning than it does right now, because it's been through not a huge amount of things, but its own thing. And the thing is, wood reacts differently depending on what sort of finish you have on it. But anyway, so the body is pallet wood, and as you can see, it has some marring and weird marks, because I basically did everything I could to make it as flat and straight as possible without removing too much of the natural rusticness of it. The neck is a maple neck with a Wenge fretboard, and the neck is actually from 2 failed experiments. The neck was a guitar that, if you've seen any of my music videos, you saw it in there, and there was nothing really wrong with it, but it's just that it was too weak and it needed something to straighten it up so that I didn't have to work on it so much. I decided that if I put a new fretboard on it and I used Wenge, it would help the maple better. I also didn't like the fretboard that was already on it, that was also maple, because it just wasn't hard enough. I think it was something wrong with the wood. But anyway, the fretboard is from another guitar build, and it's actually, which I didn't say because I didn't remember it until I decided to make this video and started thinking about these things, this was actually the fretboard on the neck that was with the weird violin-shaped grey guitar that I showed you in one of my on the couch videos. And it was because I made a strange neck. I tried to come up with the best way to access a truss rod in a Gibson-styled neck, but I wanted to make it so it didn't have a back angle so that it wouldn't break if it fell. And I solved that by designing a neck that was just a complete straight line, so no backing and no hollow outness like this, and then it was carved out channels. So it basically looked like a flat, these sort of acoustic heads, but without the angle back. And I made it so that the angle would instead be on the strings going into the tuners that were mounted through the side instead. And it actually worked really well, but I didn't use a hard enough material, the wood for the neck, and I didn't even think about the fact that the top up here would be very brittle. So if the guitar falls like this, it would work, but if the guitar fell like this, it would be a complete and utter disaster. And my niece played around with the guitar when she was, I don't know, 2 years old, 1 year old, and she pushed it off the couch. And of course, when you glide off the couch like this, you fall like this. And so the headstock snapped, and I realized that I hadn't designed a headstock that was unsnappable, because that's what I was trying to do. Usually when I try to redesign something, it's because I want to see if I can make something that is, you know, solves one of those issues that you see. Like that's, I have my own idea for a truss rod, a new kind of truss rod, for example, and it's to make sure that the neck could never warp. And at some point I want to make it, because I only have it on paper, and yeah, that's sort of the things. I have other things that I want to just solve those sort of problems to make guitars that, you know, it's impossible to have those issues. And one of those sorts of issues is obviously breaking the headstock. I fixed the typical headstock break that you see on a Les Paul, but I created a new kind of headstock breakage, which is basically snapping the headstock midway instead of at the head and neck joint. So I took those two necks and I just put them together, and that's how I got this neck. And some of you might think that that is a tiny little Pikachu, because there is a Pikachu on the other guitar, but it's actually just a cat. I was gonna make, and you can see the outline on it actually, where I've carved in the markings for starting to do the inlays, because I was actually gonna do more of an inlay. This is sort of just a silhouette of a cat. If you look really closely, like this closely, you can see the outline where I've marked out in the abalone, and this is real abalone because I picked it off the beach myself. I relicked the neck, as you can see back here, and on top of it a little bit. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted this neck to be really comfortable. And some of you like relic guitars and some of you don't, but either way, they are very comfortable necks. And I also thought it would look good together with this body. So now we're just quickly going to go into the body and just look at a little bit. There are a lot of things on this, and we're not going to talk about all of them, but a couple of them because it's fun. And if you're really interested, we can definitely do a video where we talk about all of them, but it's going to be a really long one, and it's just things that I think is fun. I first had this idea, sort of a guitar life thing, where like everyone I meet and befriend and everyone that I care about and that sort of thing, everyone would add things to it. It would be a cool thing to be like looking back at this guitar, you know, later in my life and be like, wow, look, this is what my dad wrote to me on my guitar, or wow, this is what my niece wrote when she was just a little kid and now she's all grown up. You know, that sort of beautiful thing. But the issue was that no one believed enough in themselves to do anything. Everyone got very insecure about adding something to my guitar, and everyone was a little bit like, no, I don't want to destroy your guitar. And I was like, no, but it's a guitar made of garbage. The only thing on this guitar that isn't garbage is the bridge, because I had to buy a new bridge. And it's a Wilkinson bridge, or at least that's what it says. It's all salvaged parts from, you know, old builds or things like that, or you know, something. Like the tuners are from like some sort of Squier, like, you know, beginner's guitar. They're not very good, but they're okay. It holds the tuning fairly well. Fairly well, oh honey. Same thing with the strap buttons. They're actually not good at all. And like, if you look at this neck plate, it's really rustic and old, and I've actually not done anything to this one, or at least I don't think I have. I think it's just, you know, something that came off a guitar. It wasn't supposed to be a big thing, but it became a big thing because everyone was like, no, I don't want to do anything. And the only people who actually has done anything on this is my sister, and I'll show you the awesome owl she drew, because we're owl fans. And my niece, who, you know, was so small at the time that she didn't understand pressure, or, you know, like artistic pressure. And then my mother also wrote something on it, and she basically wrote it in French. She wrote, "This is not a guitar," which is a joke to a painting of a pipe, where it says this is not a pipe, referring to the fact that it's not a pipe, it's a painting of a pipe. It's a whole mess. Actually, I can show you immediately. There is the owl in the middle, right there. Can you see it? That owl my sister drew. I have this machine with this tip here, which is a really good wood burner. You can use a soldering iron, and some of the first works were done with a soldering iron. For example, these birds right here are done with a soldering iron, and they look totally okay. There is nothing wrong with them. But, for example, this girl right here is done with that pen thing, and as you can see, she has a bunch of shadows and shades going on, and it's much more detailed, and it's a much easier thing to draw with that. And if you want to know, that's actually Paprika from Satoshi Kon's film Paprika. He's one of my favorite directors, And so, as a tribute to him, because if you didn't know, he passed away, I put some of his things on my guitar. Yeah, let's just jump into a couple of the things on this guitar. So here's the body, more close-up. So let's start with, like, for example, here are 2 penguins, because I really like penguins. Here's a bird, because, yeah, I like birds, which is, I don't know, I do. You're gonna figure out, maybe, that some things are just, like, things I like, and, you know, like, think is funny, and some things are, like, really important to me. So, yeah. For example, here is David Lynch, who is one of the greatest directors ever. I know some people think he's just doing weird, strange things, but if you've seen The Straight Story, for example, you'll know that he's amazing. It says Crestomanci right here, which is, if you haven't read the books called The Chronicle of Crestomanci, you have to do it. The greatest thing ever written. Here is Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Amy from Futurama, because she's my favorite character in Futurama. And here is a mermaid, and it's a mermaid because it's my favorite fantasy creature. And I know this is going to maybe sound a little bit weird, because I know it's not, like, maybe the right way to think of it, because, I don't know, but it's the way it is in my brain works this way, and I can't stop thinking it's hilarious. But basically they are women that are so beautiful, they're so, you know, hot and gorgeous and everything, that men will forget the fact that half of them are fish. And I just find that sort of mental image in my head so hilarious. To, like, oh, you're so beautiful, I don't even care that you're half fish. I don't know. It's fun to me. Here's a soldier, because family got annihilated basically by World War II, and the men were soldiers and stuff like that. So it's sort of a symbolizing, you know, it's also supposed to look like a really old man, because I saw this picture of an old soldier, and I don't know, there was this deeper connection that occurred, and I wanted him on my guitar. Here is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is one of my all-time favorite books. The first time I read it was just amazing. I couldn't finish a sentence without dying of laughter. Wax Fang is maybe the greatest band of the 2000s. So if you haven't heard them, you need to go and listen to Wax Fang. Kenny from South Park, and Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro, and a pumpkin, because Halloween is my favorite time of year, and Totoro, favorite movie. It's just the greatest thing ever. Down here we have the singer in Gorillaz, because growing up they were really awesome and I really liked them. And the good things about that they have done is music that I think is amazing. Sadly, not all of it is that good. Here's a quote, and it says, "I only have time for coffee." If you know what that quote is, let me know in the comments below. Then you're one of the cool ones. This is the ox Ferdinand, which is a child story character. But it's also a tattoo that Elliott Smith has, and I love Elliott Smith's music so much. It's incredible. It's like the greatest thing that's ever been created, and he's like the best of the best. And yeah, I can't even begin to explain how beautiful this music is. My favorite game is called Alan Wake, and when you find treasure, you find this symbol here in the middle. So I put it on the guitar because obviously the guitar is a treasure as well. You can also see throughout the guitar that there are small stars all over the body, like these. And that's just because I love stars. You know, space and all of that. I could sit for hours and look at them and just forget everything, basically. And then here, it says get your own guitar, and there is a little hand that is giving the middle finger. And that's because, you know, when I sit with the guitar, it's like this, but when someone loans the guitar, they will flip it like this because they're right-handed. And it was just one of those funny little mean joke things to put there. And my sister actually did that. I forgot that she did that earlier when I said she only did the owl. But yeah, and there are some other quotes here, like right here it says, you have to be highly educated to be this stupid, which is a quote from Ben Shapiro, which I know some of you maybe doesn't like that much, but it's just funny quotes to me. going to university, it's maybe one of the most true things I've ever heard. And then on the sides here, this right here, for example, it's from Donnie Darko, the movie, which if you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie. And that right there is it's When the World Will End. So yeah. And right here you have the Lloyd Cole, which is another amazing singer-songwriter, band, music. If you haven't heard Lloyd Cole, you have to listen to it. It's like he is one of the absolute greatest ever, and he's just amazing. And it's crazy that he isn't more famous because he is so good. Then we have this upper side here, and right here it says I'm With You, and that's the Red Hot Chili Peppers album with Josh Klinghoffer. And I put it on there both because I love Red Hot Chili Peppers, but also because I've always felt like he was people weren't treating him fairly. They were comparing him to John, and they were saying that he's a bad guitarist because he's just, he's not as good as the greatest guitarist ever, basically. Which is, crazy and silly, because obviously you can still be good at guitar. Anyway, there's some other quotes right here we're not going to talk about right now. It's like Depeche Mode and Napoleon and silly memes and yeah, just everything. So yeah, let's jump to the back and take a look here. We start off with Sally from A Nightmares Before Christmas, which is a movie that I really liked as a kid. I've sort of fallen out of love with Tim Burton because he is no longer making anything that is watchable. And then it's a fox, because, let's face it, foxes are so cute. And then I put a lion on because I love lions, and later I realized that this is some sort of logo. It's some football thing. I think it's English. I don't actually know. I have a hamburger, and I have 2 tigers, and the tigers are from one of my favorite poems, which is Tiger Tiger by William Blake. And yeah, so I just had to have that on it because it's one of those poems that I read, I don't know, 69 times a year. FK in the Coffee is from the game Deadly Premonition, which is, I don't know, it's just the greatest thing ever. I have a little astronaut right here because I love space. I also have a ghost. And later I realized, actually, and it's kind of funny, that this is the ghost from The Haunting Mids. I just looked at a ghost online, and then later I saw the JHS pedal, and I was like, wait, it's the same. So I accidentally put that ghost there because I like ghosts. So I thought that was a nice coinkydink. Robert Smith is right here, and also William Murdoch, who is this guy that died on the Titanic, and he was basically like called out to be some sort of bastard, and then it turned out he was actually a hero, and he's like been forgotten in history, which I think is a horrible thing. When you die saving other people, you deserve better. And so I decided to put him on my guitar so at least I don't forget him. And right there is Bone Weevil, which is a character from a TV show. It's a lot of fun. And here is Harley Quinn, but it's the old Harley Quinn from the 90s TV show, because that's when she was awesome and cool and good, and I liked her. There you have J.R.R. Tolkien, because I love the books. I love the movies too, not the TV series, but... And here is Violent Thumbs. If you haven't heard of Violent Thumbs, you need to listen to them. They're one of the greatest bands to ever come out of America. They're just amazing. This is the moon, because I love the moon. I like, it's the most beautiful thing ever. Just sit out summer evening and look up at the moon and just, yeah. Same things with mountains. I know some people are like, they like the ocean or, something like that, but I'm definitely more of a forest mountain kind of person, so I had to have some mountains. And here it says The Clash, because, you gotta have The Clash. You might think that this is Slender Man. If you know what Slender Man is. But it's not Slender Man. This is actually one of the faceless cinema goers in the movie Réalité, which is a French movie by Dupont Phoenix, I think is his name. Which, if you haven't seen his movies, You have to. Like, he is the modern time master of cinema. Like, if you think that Christopher Nolan is good, you don't know nothing. You have to watch his movies, because that's where, yeah, that's just mind-blowingly awesome. I mean, there are a lot of things, and I haven't gone through everything, and some of them are stuff that you can't, like, it would be impossible to explain. Like, for example, the Japanese writing right here, for example, if you know how to read it, it will make no sense to you at all, because it's a super silly, super stupid inside joke, and it's just super stupid. Here's a little bee, because bees are awesome, and you have to love bees. They are the best. It also says, who poisoned the house martins, which, you know, it's a question I've been asking for a very long time now. Yeah, so there you have the guitar, and now you know a lot about me more, actually, because this is very much my guitar. It's very much, you know, a personalized thing. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone who likes all these things. And I didn't go over all of them. Like, I didn't tell you about Chungking Express, which is a big mistake, because that's one of the greatest film ever, and you have to watch it. You just have to. Like, yeah, so that's the guitar. It has some fun electronical things that I want to just quickly go through with you, and it could be something fun for you to do as well. Obviously, you can see this pickup right here, and it's a Telecaster pickup, but it has rare earth magnets in it. And it's basically like a Sheep Squire, you know, something like that. It's, I've actually sort of forgot what it is. It is what it is. It has a contact microphone hidden inside the body here. So what I did, because you can't see any cavity routing or anything from the front, and you can't see anything on the back, is that I carved out the pocket here through the neck pocket. So if you take off the neck, which we're not going to do that, you're just going to have to trust me that it's there. I basically just hollowed out a small little channel here so that I could slide in the contact microphone. So right about here, there is a contact microphone pressed in there, and I used a little bit of foam on both sides to make sure that it was super snug in there. So right here, there is a contact microphone. And then under these saddles, under the bridge, you can see it very little right up here in that corner there. Right there, there is a piezo microphone, you know, one of those long, thin things that you have on your acoustic guitar. And the reason why is because when I make my own music, I'm always struggling between being a singer-songwriter that sits with his acoustic guitars and he sings about his feelings and it's all, you know, and being some sort of weird, crazy Trent Reznor kind of guy who is trying to make some weird, crazy sounds and building up something. Yeah, I feel like I am always having some sort of identity crisis of what I want to do with my music. It's been a long journey. I never feel like I get anywhere on that, you know? Like finding my sound, finding out what sort of music I want to do. No, never. There are certain music genres I'm not interested in. Not saying that they are bad or anything, but I don't see myself ever getting into them enough where I would actually make the music. But when it comes to a lot of others, I'm just like, I have to blend everything and go crazy. So this is basically, or at least was, supposed to be my sort of acoustic electric guitar, a little bit inspired by that weird Fender Telecaster thing that they made, but not solely to make, you know, an acoustic sound, but more to find a nice bridge in between so that I could make something interesting that was still rooted in some sort of ground, low-level thing where I could be a singer-songwriter. So basically like having the cake and eat it. Something that had some sort of acoustic feel to it and realness that comes with an acoustic guitar, but also that wasn't an acoustic guitar and that I could do some weird things with and experiment with, and so that basically a crazy singer-songwriter or something, sound-wise. And I discovered, which is what we're going to talk about now, because you might think that this is just a 5-way switch that, you know, lets you select the pickups and the tone and the volume. And you would be right to think that, but that's not what it is at all, actually. because, I mean, yes, this is a tone and this is a volume, but this is not, it's not at all what you think. Because what I figured out was that I never really liked the pickups separate. I only liked them when it had to do with this pickup here. So if you put it in the first position, right there, it's just this pickup all alone. And if you put it there, it's both of them. And if you put it in the middle, it's all three. And then if you push it there, it's those two. And if you push it one more, it's those two again, because and trying to come up with a way to make all the stages different was hard. So by taking apart the switch and trying to mess with it and things like that, it didn't really work. But I wanted every stage to be the bridge pickup with something. And then just a tone knob and a volume. And I feel like you can't really get an acoustic guitar sound. Like, that's not where this thing shines. It's not where this is a thing. But it's some sort of weird blend in between. It's one of those times, you know, when you don't go for something that someone else has decided. You know, like, you're not chasing down Jimi Hendrix tone or Eric Clapton. You're just trying to find something completely new and something different. And when you go down that, and I'm not saying that this guitar is mind-blowingly different than anything else, that's not at all. I'm more talking about the journey of getting there, the actual, like, me being excited over things I haven't experienced. And yeah, when you do that, you find weird and interesting things, and you realize that a lot of the times the things that you think are good, or your definition of good, it's just something close to something you like. Like, for example, you might base your entire idea of what is a good guitar sound on your favorite guitarist, and everything that isn't close to that is bad. But as soon as you can get out of that mindset, you can realize that there's a bunch of cool and fun and interesting things to explore. And there's nothing wrong with going down the rabbit hole of trying to chase down the tone of your hero, but that you can do both, I would say. You know, you can experiment and try to find new and interesting things and see if there is something that you like, and you can chase down Jimi Hendrix, if that's what you want to do. The guitar is made to be plugged in directly into an interface. That's how I designed the guitar, because I wanted something simple and easy that could help me make music on the spot real quickly. You know, so I could just plug in a microphone and the guitar and just record and sing and start everything up and just be creative in the moment. And then I could go back and I could mess with the sound and do things. So I can't show you that because that would defeat the purpose, because it would be to experiment with sound and work on it for maybe weeks or something. So you're getting to hear it just plugged into an amp, but that's because that's the only way I can do this without it becoming a weird, crazy video that is a month long. Because when it comes to mixing, you know, there is so much you can do. Try to keep that in mind when you're trying to judge the quality of the guitar by listening in to the recordings. It also has, which I maybe should have said, it has the second generation. My first one was a logo that looked really metal and pointy and very, you know. And then I had this, like, my guitars are more Fender-like guitars. They're more soft, they're more, you know, romanticized in a way, you know? And so my sister redesigned the logo and it looks like this now. But if you find a guitar somewhere and you see this logo on it, it's an old goodie one. There are some out there, you know? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know where most of the guitars I've made are nowadays, which is fine. They're out there living their good lives. And now there is a new logo, my third gen logo, which you've seen if you've seen Mikey and what I did when I put on a decal logo on him or her. I don't know. I think this is there's more probably to say. I don't know, there's more things to do. Yeah, I mean, I sometimes myself I forget what I've put on the guitar and I'm looking at it and I'm like, huh, right here for example it says life needs love to live. Sure. I mean, yeah, of course, it does. That's what we all do. But it's a really fun guitar. It's fun to play, and it's interesting to me. One thing that I just realized that I forgot to say that I was going to say earlier is that it has a 40-inch radius fretboard, which is really weird and strange. But I was experimenting with that whole thing of radiuses, and I realized that if it's flat, like plain flat, it's perfectly flat, but then playing the guitar, it will feel like it's inverted, which is really strange, because I know when things are flat, but then you play it and you look at it and you feel it, and it's inverted. That doesn't make any sense, but it's true. I promise you. And so I started to wonder, like, okay, well, how much do I have to radius it to make it flat? And so, yeah, this one has 40. I don't know if I would say that that's a good or bad thing, but it has it, and then I like the guitar, I like the neck. And yeah, and you can't see this, but I've played the frets down so much. This is one of those guitars when, you know, it's like insane, you know, because it's not that old, you know, it's not. And there is part of it is relicking, because I had to do it. Some of the dings on this body, for example, some of them are real and some of them are not real. And when I say real now, I mean that they naturally occurred, or they naturally had it in the wood. You know, I've dropped this guitar a bunch of times. But some of them are also aesthetically done because I wanted the body to feel like it belonged together with the neck. And the neck has, it has the same thing going for it. It has a couple of dings here and there that are because, you know, I can't keep nice things. I can't. I see the irony in it because I build guitars and I should know how to take care of them. But you have to understand that I also play the guitars, and I'm maybe not the best guitar player, but I am the most passionate one or something. So yeah, I'm not even sure of that. I'm one of the top 6,900 most passionate guitar players. Anyway, yeah, I think that's all about the guitar. Yeah, maybe should have prepared this video a little bit more, because I feel it's a little bit jumping all over and a little bit, it's a little bit messy. That's the way I am, and that's the way the guitar is. So yeah, if you like the video, don't forget to press the like button, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. And if you think it's fun and interesting to hear about weird guitars that I made, for example the story behind Phoenix, which is a guitar you've seen in the background in some other videos, and I've briefly talked about, it has a really fun story that I want to share with you. So let me know if you want to hear it, and if this little series of videos, I mean, this is the first video, so it's not a series yet, but I'm making them into a series sort of thing. Let me know if you want more episodes in the series, is what I'm trying to say. Because, yeah, this whole YouTube thing, it has to be that we're talking to each other. And not just because, you know, that I need comments and likes and things like that to push the channel. I hope I'm not... I mean, I obviously need that because that's how algorithms and things like that work. But I hope I'm not coming across as completely greedy. A little bit greedy, but not completely greedy. But I also need to know that, you know, like, am I wasting my time doing videos that no one wants to watch? I mean, I think it's fun to talk to you about things like, for example, this guitar. But if you don't think it's fun, then, you know, I can keep it to myself. Stay awesome and cool is what I've been trying to say. You need to go and play guitar and just appreciate the amazing, beautiful guitar that you have. That is just like so awesome and great, and just hug it. Because guitars are people too, and they need hugs just like you. So, yeah. Bye-bye for now.